Have you ever wished a series of giant robot sculptures would descend from space and induce a mass shared dream hallucination where you and all your friends could work together to solve a series of puzzles and reveal awesome, terrible truths about humanity and our place in the cosmos? Well, I have. And that's why I wrote this. But this video is not an ad. It is me telling you that there is a way that you can spend a lot of your days in all kinds of different worlds, from an alien overseen Manhattan to the fires of Mordor to a teen cancer support group. The only catch is, you kind of have to make them yourself, using just your imagination and a blank Word document. Hello, I'm Hank Green. I wrote these 2 books, and here is how to become an author. Being an author is about writing, but not just any writing. In general, we think about an author as someone who writes and publishes literary works, which are loosely defined as things written to be read by popular audiences. And that helps distinguish authorship from other kinds of writing, like grant writing or copywriting or YouTube video script writing, which all have less literary goals. So within that larger definition, authors write all kinds of different things, from books to short stories to essays to plays to graphic novels. And they write about all kinds of different things too, from fiction about made-up worlds ruled by orcs or elves or robots named Carl, to nonfiction about our real world, which is ruled to a surprising extent by tuberculosis. No matter what kind of writing they do, a huge part of an author's life is just that. It's writing. The extent to which it is just writing is actually surprising even to me, a man who has written books. Nothing writes a book but time. So yeah, that actual process of typing takes a surprising amount of time, but the life of an author also includes researching and editing, querying, and marketing their work. Every writer has a different routine that works for them. Some begin every day with early morning drafting before the sun even rises. Others burn the midnight oil until the sun rises. Others aren't so much for routine. For me, drafting is never scheduled because I often couldn't stop myself if I tried, while revising is scheduled harshly because otherwise I will literally never do it. It's also really common for that routine to include an entire second job, like teaching, serving at a restaurant, writing freelance articles, or running a bunch of YouTube channels. That's because unless you have a bestseller on your hands, it is hard to make enough money to afford your black coffee and moleskin notebook habit. The money authors do make comes from a variety of places. Those of us that publish our books with traditional publishers make royalties on our work, which are author fees that come out of the cover price of a book when it's purchased. Sometimes publishers also offer advances to buy the rights to a book that they want to publish. If your book does well, the publisher will take the advance amount back out of your royalties, but if it doesn't, you don't have to give that advance money back. You just might not make any more money on top of it, and you might find it trickier to get them to take a chance on your next book. Authors can also make money selling shorter pieces like essays or short stories to literary magazines and websites. They might also supplement that income with other author-related escapades like public appearances, book talks, and even TV and film adaptations of their work. You'd be surprised how many novels get optioned for TV with a little bit of money along with that, without any of them ever getting turned into movies. And for self-published authors who publish and distribute their work themselves, things are structured differently. Advances and royalties don't factor in, and they can make more money off of each individual book sale because there's no publisher to take a cut. But their books usually don't sell as well since they're not backed by a well-connected publisher. When you combine all of these income sources, best-selling authors can make hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars. But that is very rare. On average, most authors are not making it onto the bestseller list. According to a survey in 2018, only about 20% of authors make their whole living on book sales. Another survey from 2023 showed that only 32% of authors actually consider writing to be their full-time job. And even people who work full-time as authors only make a median of about $20,000 a year on all of their authorly activities. It's a career a lot of people want, but the demand for books is not as high as we would like it to be. But if you're really serious about spending your days as an author, it's possible that you will take this risk. All of this stuff is just the prologue, so let's jump into chapter 1 of how to really become an author. There are about as many ways to become an author as there are chapters in Anna Karenina, which is to say, more than you might think. But if you are an Alexei Karenin type, there is a traditional path for you to follow. This academic route starts with college and a BA or BFA in creative writing. This is going to include a lot of reading and, yes, writing, as well as workshopping your your work with your professors and classmates. You'll take classes on all kinds of literary forms, from short stories to poetry to creative nonfiction to screenwriting and playwriting, as you develop your own voice as a writer and build up your body of work. If you decide to take the college route, you might want to get involved with your school's literary magazine too. This can give you a taste of the real literary world and maybe even get you your first publication. This way, by the time you graduate, you'll be set up with a portfolio of work to impress the publishing world, a handful of industry connections, and the skills to craft the next great American novel, or memoir, or short story collection, or nonfiction deep dive into the history of smallpox, whatever you're into. And if you feel the calling for even more school, you could go on to pursue an MFA in creative writing. Creative writing MFAs range widely in cost and selectiveness, but generally they include a lot of the same stuff from a bachelor's, like workshops and critiques, only way more intense. And they can be great ways to make even more serious connections in the industry, which can help a lot when it comes to getting published. But unlike doctors, lawyers, teachers, or astrophysicists, you actually don't have to go to college for creative writing to be an author. In fact, you don't have to go to college at all. And because this career is a lot less about your academic accolades and a lot more about the quality of your writing, there are actually a lot of different paths to becoming a published author. One option is to get your bachelor's in biochemistry and your master's in environmental studies and then start a YouTube channel with your brother who happens to be John Green, spend 15 years being a content creator before you finally realize you got a book in you. That might not work for everyone, but lots of authors have taken these less traditional routes into their careers. Like YA and children's author E.L. Konigsberg started her graduate degree in chemistry, then became a teacher, had 3 children, took up painting, and didn't even start writing until all her kids were school-aged. On the flip side of the generational gap, Christopher Paolini wrote Aragon when he was a teenager. He self-published the book on his own before scoring a major publishing deal at age 19. All that to say, there are many different ways to skin the cat, or build the giant robot, just become an author. So maybe instead of getting a whole bachelor's degree, you can take a couple creative writing classes at your community college, local art center, or public library, which can offer you lots of opportunities to read, experiment, and get feedback from other writers. There are also paid online courses and writers' retreats where you can get feedback from real editors or agents. Or you could always start your own writer's workshop with your friends, where you share and critique one another's work. The most important thing, and often the hardest, is to keep writing and building that portfolio. And once you do that, you can start working on getting published. Because while anyone can write a book, short story, essay, or poem and technically be an author, what we're really talking about here is becoming a published author, someone whose work exists in public for others to read and enjoy, and who probably gets paid for it. And it can really help to live a lot of life, to know many people, to be in the world empathetically, and have adventures that help you understand humans. And whether that life experience informs your fiction or becomes memoir, it can be a very important ingredient. What I found was I could not write a book until I felt there was a book only I could write. When you're ready to start thinking about publishing, you do not have to jump straight in with a 500-page doorstop of a novel. In your early author days, you can think about submitting short stories, essays, poems, or whatever you like to write to places like literary magazines, journals, and websites. These outlets are everywhere and come in all different types, from the super prestigious and popular Paris Review to the charming 2000s-era blog run by your college bestie. There are even websites to help you find submission opportunities, places like ChillSubs and Submission Grinder. It's also a very good idea to start networking with other authors and future authors. Author conferences, book launch parties, book festivals, and publisher-sponsored events can be great places to meet people in the industry. The literary world is a big networking game, so knowing other people's work and having them know yours can be a huge help in getting your stuff published and seen by as many people as possible. Networking can also help you get an agent, someone who works in the industry who can represent you and your work, and of course takes a cut of your advance and royalties once you land a deal. Getting an agent is also the first step to getting long longer work, like a novel, short story collection, or a memoir, to a publisher. If you have a full-length novel that you think is ready for publication, or a really, really detailed proposal for the next nonfiction classic that people need, you can find agents through the literary world grapevine or by researching different publishers or authors to see the agents they work with. Then you will reach out to them with a query letter that talks about you, your work, and why they should take a chance on your giant 64 alien robot statues. Once an agent agrees to work with you, they will start submitting your work to editors, the people at publishing houses who pick out the manuscripts they want to publish. That process can look a lot of different ways depending on your work, your agent, and where you're trying to get published. But the end goal is always the same: to land a publishing deal. And once that happens, you're off to the races. The editor will make an offer, and if you accept, they will start working with you to get your manuscript ready for publication. And then get it on the shelves, and then get you paid. Now, this is not to say that landing an agent or a publishing deal is easy. You should expect lots of rejection, revision, and trying again. Frank Herbert's Dune was rejected over 20 times by more traditional houses before it was finally picked up by a publisher who mostly did car manuals. Margaret Mitchell's Gone with the Wind was rumored to have been rejected anywhere from 25 to 40 times, but frankly, my dear, she did not give a damn. But you don't have to work with an agent. Some smaller publishing houses will accept submissions from authors without representation, or you could take matters into your own hands and self-publish. These days, there are tons of platforms like Kindle, Barnes & Noble, and Apple Books where you can publish your work as an ebook, audiobook, and even get physical copies printed for sale without ever having to work with an agent or publishing house. Self-publication can be an excellent option. It gives you total creative control over your published book, and the money it makes comes straight to you. And also, nobody can turn you down, which is nice for us sensitive folks in the crowd. The disadvantage is that you have to do it all yourself. You won't have an editor to help you refine your work, or if you do, you will have to hire that person yourself. You won't have a designer to make the cover pop off the shelves, or a publisher to get your book in people's paying hands. But whatever route you take to publication, you will end up with the satisfaction of your work on the shelves and the satisfaction of being a published author. But maybe you're not sure that's what you actually want. For some people, writing feels like a kind of private activity. And even though you love it, maybe you're not sure if you're comfortable sharing it with anybody except your BFF. So, if you're on the fence, there are a couple of things you could try out to see if the whole published author thing is right for you. Like, before you send your short story off to a literary magazine, you could think about taking it to an open mic and reading it to a crowd of friendly strangers. Or you might want to try your hand at publishing, but with lower stakes. You could submit to a small local contest or journal. That way, you'll get some experience without the threat of thousands of eyes on your work. One of the coolest things about being an author, besides creating new worlds and 64 giant robot statues, is you don't need anyone's permission to tell your story. So if you're ready to step into the world of authorhood, you might find it's pretty cool. Maybe not as cool as Middle-earth or colonial Mars, but I'm here, and I'd love for you to join me. Thanks for watching this episode of Study Hall How to Become, which was made by Crash Course and ASU. If you want to learn more about undergrad major options, check out our Fast Guide series where we dive into popular college majors, and you can also check out GoStudyHall.com for more resources.